So chapter 8, verse 1 to 6. Let's see. So in this chapter, there is like majorly two sections. So the first section is where Parikshit Maharaj is very eager to hear more about Lord Krishna from Shukadeva Goswami. So he inspires Shukadeva Goswami to speak more Hari Katha by explaining how the benefits of Hari Katha, the benefits of hearing about Krishna. After glorifying and inspiring Shukadeva Goswami, he asks a list of questions for the rest of the chapter. So it is just question after question that he is asking. It's almost like 30-40 questions. So we will see all of them short. So here, Parikshit Maharaj, he has been hearing from Shukadeva Goswami the conversation between whom? What was the conversation quoted by Shukadeva Goswami in the previous chapters 5, 6, and 7? Who are the two personalities speaking to each other?
Narada and Brahma.
Yeah, Narada is asking questions to Lord Brahma. So just because he has been hearing about Narada Muni, so Parikshit Maharaj in the first verse of this chapter, he says, please, it is so nice to hear about Narada Muni hearing from Brahmaji. So what is the last instruction Brahmaji gave to Narada Muni in the previous chapter? Towards the end, he said, now I have given you this knowledge of Srimad Bhagavatam. Please go and distribute this knowledge. Basically preach this knowledge of Srimad Bhagavatam. So now Parikshit Maharaj is asking a continuation question. He's saying, oh, that means if he has received an instruction to preach, for sure Narad Muni would have followed the instructions of the spiritual master and father, Lord Brahma. So where did he go and preach? To whom did he preach to? So he's saying, speak about Narada Muni's preaching exploits. I'm very eager to know like how Narada Muni presented this knowledge to others. I would like to know that. And if we see, this question is actually in one sense answered by Shukadeva Goswami throughout Srimad Bhagavatam. So because in the chapter Canto 4, we will see how Narada Muni preaches to Dhruva Maharaj. Then in further we will see how he is preaching to Priyavrat Maharaj. He is also preaching to Prahlad Maharaj. He is preaching to Yudhishthir Maharaj. So in this way, almost literally every canto he is there. He is preaching to the Prachetas. He is also preaching to the sons of Daksha in Canto 6. So in this way, Narada Muni is like a continuing figure in the rest of the Bhagavatam. So Shukadeva Goswami in one sense is answering this question of Parikshit Maharaj throughout Srimad Bhagavatam. How speaking about Narada Muni's preaching experts. Narada Muni speaks to Vasudeva in Canto 11. So in that way, this particular question will be answered throughout Srimad Bhagavatam. Because he just heard the instruction of Brahmaji to Narada Muni to preach, so Parikshit Maharaj is here asking, please speak more about Narada Muni's preaching exploits. He says that I'm very eager to know the truth of the Lord because it purifies one's heart. So and he says, please continue to speak. Please just don't stop thinking that my questions are answer to my questions are over. Please continue to speak so that I can absorb my mind on Krishna while leaving my body. Please speak. There is still more time left for me to leave this body, and help me absorb my mind on Krishna. So why one has to absorb his mind on Krishna? He says, the Lord quickly manifests in the heart of a devotee who continually hears with faith and serious endeavor. Shinvatah Shraddhaya Nityam Grunatascha Swacheshtitam Kalena Nati Dhirgena Bhagavan Vishate Grudi. He says, anyone who actually with serious endeavor and faith continues to hear about Lord Krishna, then the Lord manifests in the heart of the devotee. So what does the Lord do after manifesting in the heart of the devotee? So we may also ask a question, what do you mean by manifesting in the heart of a devotee? Is Paramatma not present in everyone's heart already? As Paramatma, he is already present, right? Otherwise, we won't be surviving in this body without the presence of Paramatma. So that means the Paramatma is already there. So why is that here Shukadeva Goswami is saying the Lord quickly manifests. Bhagavan Vishate Hridi. Why is that manifest in the heart of a devotee? Actually, Paramatma is a neutral personality. He is more of a Upadrashta Anumantacha Bharta Bhokta Maheshwara. So Srimad Bhagavad Gita explains that this Paramatma is just an observer and a sanctioner. He does not participate. He just watches whatever we are doing, and he tries to inspire. He tries to remind. However, Lord, when a devotee takes interest and serious endeavor and faith to hear about Lord Krishna, the Supreme Lord, then he personally manifests as Lord Krishna in the heart of the devotee. So he becomes more involved in our lives than he is usually. As Paramatma, for a normal person who is not interested in Krishna consciousness, he acts as an official role. He sits there and notes down everything that he does, and whatever he is qualified to experience, whether it is happiness or distress, that is being awarded. That's all he does as an official duty. But when a person does a serious endeavor and with faith tries to hear about Krishna, then Paramatma takes a interest in our lives. Actually tries to arrange in a way things that so that we can become more and more purified and come closer to him. So as soon as we take interest, then Paramatma also takes interest. That is the main. That is that time actually. That reciprocation is not the general nature of Paramatma. That's why here is. That's why he's saying Bhagavan Vishate Hridaya. Supreme Lord directly actually becomes manifest there because that is the nature of the Supreme Lord to reciprocate. Because the reciprocation begins, he becomes directly involved in our lives. That's why only when we start to hear about Krishna seriously, actually Krishna will manifest in our lives. If we want Krishna to manifest in our lives, then that can be done only through hearing about Krishna with faith and serious endeavor. That's why this word Shrunvata Shraddhaya Nityam Granatascha Sushcheshtitam Thalena Nathi Dirghena Bhagavan Vishate Hridaya. So and once he comes into the heart, what does he do? Pravishtaha Karanarandrena Swanam Bhava Saroruham Bhunoti Kshamalam Krishna Shalilasya Yatha Sharat. He says, Pravishtaha Karnarandrena. What does the Supreme Lord in the form of Harikatha when he enters into the ears of the devotee? Pravishtaha Karnarandrena. Through the ear holes, when the Supreme Lord and the form of Harikatha enters inside the heart in the devotee, Swanam Bhava Saroruham. He actually manifests in the heart. Swanam Bhava Saroruham. Dhunoti Shamalam Krishna Shalilasya Yatasharat. He cleans the heart. He cleanses the heart. Once he manifests in the heart of a devotee, what does he do? He actually cleans the heart. He personally cleans the heart of the devotee. How? Shalilasya Yatha Sharat. How in the season of Sharat, in the autumn season, when the rains fall on a muddy pond, actually the pond becomes clean. Similarly, the heart becomes clean when the water, this fresh water, the autumnal springs of autumnal showers of Harikatha, when it falls in the heart of the devotee through the ear holes, then his heart is also purified. Shuman bro, you want to ask something? Yeah.
Guruji, one small question about Paramatma. Paramatma also like acts as Chaitya Guru, right? Sitting in our heart. So
Yes.
even he inspires, he directs depending upon, I mean, especially for a devotee, it is told that Paramatma actually manifests. Like others cannot see the presence or feel, but for a devotee manifests. Therefore, isn't like you told that Paramatma only is just like a eyewitness, nothing else. But for a devotee, let's say for example, now I'm hearing from you, like based upon my, my eagerness and all, he can actually inspire many things at different points. And doesn't he do that, or is it like the Supreme Lord himself enters?
That's what I also explained. When a person is not a devotee, then he just plays the official role of Upadrashta Anumanta Bharata Bhokta Maheshwara Paramatmeti Chapyukto Dehe Asmin Purushapada. Even though he is staying within our hearts, as Paramatma, he is a transcendental person, and what are his duties? Upadrashta Anumanta. Upadrashta, overseer, Anumanta. Allows, like sanctions or does not sanction, depending upon our karma. He does not do anything apart from whatever your karma has brought for you. That's all he is just waiting. Only when you meet a devotee, you become interested in bhakti, then he can actually arrange things for you in such a way that you can become more and more devotionally inclined or come in contact with association. But for that, for after the initial contact through a devotee, we have to show that interest. Because if you see,
One more small.
somehow by the mercy of,
Yeah, it's clear. I just maybe missed
somehow
this
by the,
point.
just a minute, let me just finish. Yeah, okay. Yes, bro. You saying something? There you go.
Yeah, and Narada Muni
Simon?
is Narada Muni actually? Yeah, you're not able to hear me. Not able to hear me.
Yeah, I can hear
So
you.
is Narada Muni himself?
No, you can speak.
Yeah. So is Narada Muni itself like a manifestation of the Lord, like one of the avatars. We know like Vyasadeva is a Saktavis avatar, but like because later we find that among the Panchatattva, the devotion as the devotee himself is Narada Muni, right? Who comes as Lord's
Yeah.
devotee. So so here when he's asking all this, so Narada Muni is actually Lord himself, or is he not a like not Lord's expansion or
Okay.
avatars?
Yeah, so the tattva of Narad Muni is also like Shakti Avesh. He is called as Bhakti Avesh. He is the specific devotional potency manifested. So he is also a jiva, but specifically empowered with devotional potency.
And he's Nitya Siddha Jiva.
He is an example of yeah, means you can say in one sense. At the same time, he also explains his own history in the Srimad
Yes.
Bhagavatam. So that means like he is also a sadhana siddha, but like once you become a siddha, how you become is like a
Yeah, okay.
like now. So
No, like he
yes,
eternally exists in the spiritual world as well as in the material world all the time. Because he keeps moving every place we keep seeing. And at the same time, he like there are some devotees who manifest
the
there
devotees
and
can
here also.
expand. Yeah, the devotees can expand. So I'm not sure because in what form he is in Goloka that I have means I am not an authority on that. But surely he
Okay,
can
Prabhu.
expand. That is for sure.
Okay, okay. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
And so here in this verse 5, so we saw how Harikatha purifies the heart. Pravishtaha karna rantrena swanam bhava sarodham punoti shamaram krishna shalilasya yatasara. That how the autumnal rains clear the water reservoirs. Similarly, when the Harikatha enters the ears of a devotee, then all the contaminations in the heart will be removed. And once that happens, once that purification of heart happens, then there is a relationship established with Krishna in the heart of a devotee. So once that relationship is established, then the devotee never gives up the Lord's lotus feet. That's why he is saying, Dhautatma Purusha Krishna Pada Moolam Namunchati Mukta Sarva Pariklesha Hanta Swa Sharanam Yatha. Dhautatma Purusha Krishna. Such a person with purified heart never gives up the Lord's lotus feet. How after going through so much travel, when a person is finally tired, he comes back to his home and relaxes. Oh, so he went to so many places to enjoy, but at the end of everything, he has to come back to his home finally to actually rest. Similarly, the conditioned soul may go through so many different paths of enjoyment or liberation or spirituality, so many different kinds of paths. And once he is tired, he has to finally take shelter of the Supreme Lord's lotus feet, which is considered as the home. And once he comes there, he will not give that up. Pantaha Swasharanam Yata. How he once he comes to Krishna, that is when he actually relaxes. That is when he actually completely rests and rejuvenates and completely becomes satisfied. So a devotee never gives up that Lord's lotus feet because he is the actual shelter of the living entity. After wandering all over the place in different paths, he finally takes shelter of the Supreme Lord. And once the heart is purified, he actually establishes a relationship with the Supreme Lord and finds shelter on his lotus feet. So in this way, he is glorifying how you are finally giving me an opportunity to hear. So please continue. So that if I continue to hear, my heart will be purified and I can establish a relationship with Krishna and achieve his shelter. So that is what Parikshit Maharaj is trying to inspire Shukadeva Goswami to speak more Harikatha, because it will help him purify his heart and develop a relationship with Krishna. And after glorifying in this way, Parikshit Maharaj is going to ask questions from the verse 7 until the 23rd verse of this chapter. He's going to ask questions, but those questions are like given in, could be like kind of classified in some can be classified into a group, but others are like questions which are like separate, individual. So why we can ask, why Parikshit Maharaj is asking all these kind of random questions? So Parikshit Maharaj, when he is trying to inspire Shukadeva Goswami, and he has heard all these questions from answers from Shukadeva Goswami, he's looking around and seeing some sages are kind of not still satisfied. Because they still have some different opinions. So one of the prominent conclusions is, if the Lord is a very merciful person, why is the living entity has to actually go through this material existence? Why does he has to actually, the jiva has to go through a material existence if the Lord is actually very merciful? Because one of the six Vedantas, six parts of six systems of philosophy. So one of the systems has like a serious contention with why is that we have to go through this particular bird if in that case if he is benevolent. Actually, the Sankhya school of philosophy has this issue. That is why they say there is no God. It's atheistic Sankhya philosophy says there is no God, because if he was there, if he is there and he is like completely merciful, then why is it that we are all going through this material existence? So that is why we don't believe that there is a God, there exists a God. So desiring that Shukadeva Goswami to address this particular doubt, Parikshit Maharaj is beginning to ask the question. He says, "O learned Brahmin, Shukadeva Goswami, you say that in reality we are eternal spirit souls, right? We are all like spirit souls. So transcendent to this body that we have. And we are all of the same spiritual nature as the Supreme Lord. So if we are all of the same spiritual nature, and if we are spirit souls and not these material bodies, then how is it that we become entangled with the material energy and suffer? If we are also spiritual like the Supreme Lord, if we also have a spiritual form like the Supreme Lord, why is it that we actually get entangled in this material energy and suffer? So is there a reason for this? Or does it happen without any reason, like haphazardly, like as some philosophers consider, like Sankhya philosophers consider, it just happened. There is no reason why it happened, but it just happened, and there is no God. All that exists is the soul, and it gets entangled in illusion. And when it follows the process of Sankhya, it will get delivered from that illusion and eternally be liberated. So there is no God in this equation, according to the Sankhya philosophy. The atheistic Sankhya philosophy at least. So that is what Parikshit Maharaj is asking. If the jiva is spiritual and has attained a material body, why? How did the jiva who is spiritual attain a material body which is material? They both don't go together. One is spirit, one is matter. How these two things are put together? That's what Parikshit Maharaj is wanting to know. And actually, Shukadeva Goswami will be answering this little later, but I'm just giving a little overview so that we can get a gist, because now it's going to be like 20 some questions, and then Shukadeva Goswami will start speaking in the next chapter. But in short, he will be explaining how the spirit souls are transcendental to the material body, but they become identified with the spirits, identified with the material body, even though they are spiritual, because of the influence of the Maya Shakti. Without the influence of the Lord's external energy, they won't be able to identify. And that influence happens mainly through false ego. False ego is the connection between the soul and the body, especially the identification. So how the soul have like continuously, very strongly identifies itself with the body, that is because of the false ego. So that he will be explaining in the next chapter beginning. So in this way, when Shukadeva Goswami answers, and then there is also this so, and also there is more questions like, oh, if the Supreme Lord and the Jiva both are spiritual, you understand? Like we saw how in the first question also, Parishad Maharaj is saying the Jiva is spiritual and the Supreme Lord is also spiritual. And if you say then the whole universe manifested from Garbhodaksha Vishnu's navel, he is spiritual and the Jiva is also spiritual. So is the difference only the size of the body, that Garbhodaksha Vishnu is big and the jiva is small? Is that all about the size? They both are spiritual, it's only the size difference, because both the Lord and the common living entities assume bodies. Because he just said like from Mahavishnu comes Garbhodaksha Vishnu, from Garbhodaksha Vishnu comes Kshirodaksha Vishnu. So the Supreme Lord also assumes many forms, many bodies in one sense. So the living entities also take up different bodies. So is it just the size difference? They both are spiritual, or how is, what is the specific difference between bodies that the Supreme Lord assumed and the common living entities assume? Basically, the Lord expands into many, and the jivas also life after life take up different bodies. So is that the same? Is it different? So that's another Supreme Lord also as material. So to clarify that, he is asking this particular question. And that is why in connection to that, he is asking that Brahma appeared from the navel of the Lord. So is the form of the Lord similar to that of the material body of Brahma or different? Where does the master of Maya, Karanodaksha Vishnu, lie down? Karanodaksha Vishnu is Mahavishnu. So where does the master of Maya, Karanodaksha Vishnu, lie down? I've heard that the planets and their governors are imagined as the limbs of the Virat Purusha. Please explain more details. We will explain that in chapter 10 also again. So I have heard that the planets and their governors are imagined as the limbs of Virat Purusha. So please explain more details about this. So Shukadeva Goswami will be explaining more details in the form of Adhyatma, Abhibhuta, and Adidaiva in chapter 10. How all these various aspects, everything comes from the Supreme Lord, like the different aspects of subtle sense organs of the demigods themselves, and the subtle sense organs of the jivas, all of them actually manifest from the Supreme Lord. Those details he will explain in chapter 10. So these are some questions he asks about the Supreme Lord and the jiva, and he understands there are actually other people who are of different opinions and different interests in life. So he is continuing to ask various questions, which are not directly like about the Supreme Lord and the Bhakti, but however he asks these questions to make sure the doubts of those people are also clarified in the course of answering these questions by Shukadeva Goswami. So that's why he continues to ask these questions. He asks some more questions about Kala and Karma, because there are various philosophers sitting in the audience who are all followers of different philosophies. So the philosophy of Kannada is the propounded by Kannada, the Vaisheshika. They are very interested about atoms, so and time and everything. So here he is speaking about. Please speak about Kalpa, Vikalpa, how time is perceived in various ages and planetary systems, lifespan of humans, demigods, divisions of time, destinations achieved by karma, how do various karmic activities lead to various bodies, because there are people who follow karma kanda philosophy also in the audience. So please explain that also, he is saying. And in this way, he continues to explain, ask many other questions like, please explain the creation of various places in this universe and their inhabitants, dimensions of the universe, different characteristics and activities of the devotees, characteristics of Varnashrama. So if you see, dimensions of the universe will be explained in the chapter 5, canto 5. If you see, characteristics and activities of devotees are explained in various places throughout Srimad Bhagavatam. And the characteristics of Varnashrama will be explained specifically in Canto 7 by Narada Muni to Yudhishthira Maharaj. In this way, there will be so many places. And also, Krishna will be explaining to Uddhava in the Canto 11 about the characteristics of Varnashrama. And he is also asking about yugas, durations of the yuga dharma, and activities of yuga avataras. So the activities of yuga avataras and yuga dharma will be explained in Canto 11, chapter 5, where Nimi is meeting the Navayogendras. And also a little bit about the yugas and durations will be third Canto 11 chapter also will be explaining. In the 12th Canto, chapter 2 also explains about some of these topics. And then he also asks about Sadharana Dharma, which is bhakti, Savishesha Dharma, which is occupations according to birth, and Apad Dharma in emergency situation. 7th Canto, 11 to 15, that is the Varnashram chapters, they explain about all of these. And then he also asks about Sankhya, worship of the Purusha avatars, and Yoga Mishra Bhakti, because there are some yogis sitting in the audience, so he is asking that. So here, these questions will be answered in mostly in Canto 3, 4, and Canto 11 also. Because Canto 3, if you see, chapter 26 to 28, Kapil Dev will be speaking about Sankhya. Because Kapil Dev's system of that he propounded is the Sankhya philosophy. That will be explained in Canto 3, 26, 27, 28 chapters. And also 4th Canto, chapter 8 and 9 will speak some of these topics, worship of Purusha avatars, Yoga Mishra Bhakti. And also especially 11th Canto, 13 to 15 chapter, 22nd chapter, 24th chapter, all these chapters speak about Sankhya and Yoga Mishra Bhakti. And opulence and destination and destruction of the subtle body of the great yogis or devotees. So, if you see the episodes of Devahuti or Dhruv Maharaj or Prithu or Prachetas, they also speak about these things, opulence, destination, and destruction of the subtle body of devotees. They are the greatest yogis. So, the opulence, what is the opulence like? Great yogis, like as a great yogi and devotee, Karda Muni actually showed what is his opulence. So, somehow, like any of us remember, like what is that he is showing? What does Karda Muni do? How does he show his yogic power?
Can you repeat? It was cutting.
Okay. How does Karda Muni show? See, this question is Parikshit Maharaj is asking. Explain the opulence, destination, and destruction of the subtle body of great yogis or devotees. So this, if you see in Srimad Bhagavatam, this comes in various places. Specifically, it comes in the life story of Karda Muni and Devahuti. Karda Muni is a great yogi, also a devotee, and he manifests a spaceship which is so great that it can fly anywhere. Like he shows his opulence actually. And what is the destination? Destination of we will see in the case of Dhruv Maharaj. What is his destination? His destination is his opulence is he has an opulence greater than Brahmaji. As his destination, he steps on the head of death personified and enters the Vaikuntha spaceship and goes back to the spiritual world. Destruction of the subtle body of the great yogis or devotees. If you see how different devotees give up their bodies in the Bhagavatam, you can see Prithu Maharaj, Prachetas, or Dhruv Maharaj, or Devahuti, how all of them, like their opulence, their destination, specifically destruction of the subtle body, how Dhruv Maharaj goes back, all these things explain the destination of the devotees. And also, Parikshit Maharaj is asking about conclusion of all Vedas, Upavedas, Itihasas, and Puranas. Okay, I'm running out of time. I'll take it. The conclusion of all Vedas, Upavedas, Itihasas, and Puranas comes in the Canto 12. And deliverance from samsara for all living entities. Please speak about how the living entities can be delivered. What are the favorable and unfavorable activities for bhakti? Specifically, Kapil Dev speaks about this. favorable and unfavorable activities for bhakti. He speaks in the Canto 3, 29th chapter, 30th chapter, 31st, 32nd. All of them are Yoga Mishra Bhakti, but in specifically about pure Bhakti also. Canto 7, Canto 7 speaks about the Vritti, means inclinations. Good inclinations and bad inclinations. So, good inclinations indicated by Prahlad Maharaj, bad inclinations, bad desires, unfavorable activities for bhakti indicated by Hiranyakashipu. So that canto speaks about this. Rules for Vedic, Smartha and Kamya karmas. 7th canto 11 to 15, where Varnashram Dharma is described by Narada Muni to Yudhishthira Maharaj, all these things are explained. And reappearance of the jivas after pralaya from the body of the Supreme Lord. That comes in the 3rd canto, 8th chapter, it will explain. And also creation of Pashandis, heretics, how the creation happens. Like even in the creation, there are certain living entities who have certain inclinations who take up bodies. So that's said how Brahmaji is creating different living entities in chapter canto 3. And about the existence of Nitya Siddhas, we will see in canto 3, canto 11, canto 10. How does the Lord perform his Leelas using Yoga Maya and then disappearing without any attachment? This we will see just in the next chapter. Canto 2, chapter 9, 33 to 35 verses. We will see how the Lord performs his Leela using Yoga Maya and then disappearing without any attachment. That we will see in the next chapter. So in this way, he has asked so many questions. Some questions are directly related to bhakti, some questions glorify bhakti, some questions directly glorify bhakti, some questions indirectly glorify bhakti. But all these questions in one sense establish the supremacy of bhakti. But some are direct, some are indirect. Specifically, the indirect questions are asked by Parikshit Maharaj so that the sages in the audience can get clarified about those topics. So does anyone want to ask anything? We just have few verses to cover after this. If you have any questions, we can take on so far whatever we saw.
Prabhu, the first question that Parikshit Maharaj asked is about the jivas, right?
Yeah.
And that's like anyway, there is a lot of questions about actual whether jivas stay here all the time, or and then Prabhupada gives certain answers. So I just wanted to know in Bhagavatam where the answer to the first question is given.
Just in the next chapter 2.9, 1 to 3 verses, it will be explained. In Canto 3, chapter 7 also there is a discussion about this. And also
means after Hiranyaksha's death, after that? Or
yeah,
Vidura and
I think
Maitri?
1 or 2 to 3 verses, chapter 7, yeah, it has some explanation for that also. So you can see that.
Okay.
Canto 3, something like chapter 7, I think. I can post it. If you give me a second, I can just look up something.
Okay.
At the end of the session. After I finish this, I can just look up and post it.
Yeah, no problem.
And also, yeah, I think it is Canto 3, chapter 7. You can side by side. Can you look for me?
Yeah, I'll look.
Yeah. Now you can just open a side link because in the Zoom when I'm sharing my screen, if I go to some, means it's difficult for me to go to another screen. So then Parishit Maharaj asked all these questions. So then Parishit Maharaj actually inspired Shukadeva Goswami to speak. So he asked all these questions. So now first he inspired him, asked the questions. Now again he is going to inspire him to answer. He says, please answer Shukadeva Goswami kindly all these questions I asked you, and those I may not have actually inquired. Because what do I know? What is best for me? I'm an ignorant person. I don't know what is best for me. But I've asked some questions. Please answer them. But if you think I need to know something, some other things, which will be beneficial for my Krishna consciousness, please explain those things also. So please answer kindly all these questions I asked you, and those that I may not have asked you, but maybe it is helpful for me if you think so. Please answer all those things. And he says, among all sages, you are the authority as your knowledge is in parampara. See, if you see, this is like a very like direct hint he is giving. He's saying there are so many sages sitting in the audience. Some follow Bhakti, some follow Sankhya, some follow Vaisheshika philosophy, some follow Vedanta, or some follow Karma Kanda. So in this way, there are different schools and different sages. But he's saying, among all these sages, why I'm asking you this question, you answer. Please answer all these questions. Don't think I am an expert in bhakti, so I'll speak about bhakti. Let these people speak about time. Those people will speak about the position of the like the universe. No, I want to hear all the questions answers from you only, not from other people. There are many sages sitting here. They may think themselves an authority on certain topics, but I don't care hearing from any of those people. I want all the questions to be answered only by you. Why? Because they may have knowledge, but they don't have authority because their knowledge is not in parampara. They didn't hear from the Supreme Lord's parampara coming down the Supreme Lord. Some of these philosophers don't have any parampara. They are Vedic sages. They have learned Vedas, but they have put forward so many conceptions. They have added their own opinions in their philosophies. So I don't want to hear from them. They are not in any parampara. They don't have authority to speak. It is you, Shukadeva Goswami, who come in parampara, who directly heard from Vyasadeva, who heard from Narada, who heard from Brahma. Brahmaji heard from the Supreme Lord. You are in parampara. I want you to answer all the questions. Among all the sages, you are the one who is perfect in knowledge. So, and he says, don't think I am so tired just asking this big list of questions. Don't think I'm tired or I'm hungry or I'm thirsty. Don't care about that. I'm certainly not affected by hunger, thirst, or anything because I'm fully satisfied because you are giving me the nectar of Krishna which is flowing from your mouth. That is actually keeping my hunger and thirst fully satisfied. So please continue, Krishna Katha. Don't think I must be tired because I'm fasting from food and water. Don't worry about that. Whatever you are speaking, that is the nectar which is actually satisfying me. So if you want me to continue my fast until death and like achieve perfection, then you have to continue speaking because that is the food which can keep me away from hunger and thirst. So in this way, he inspires Shukadeva Goswami to speak more. And then now Suta Goswami zooms out. So Suta Goswami says, when Shukadeva Goswami heard this questions by Parikshit Maharaj, he was very pleased. Because now Parikshit Maharaj has asked the questions, but how do we know uh, what do you call it? And this blog. What is the reaction of Shukadeva Goswami? What did he feel after hearing the questions by Parikshit Maharaj? Oh my God, I already answered you so many questions. Now you are asking 30 questions. When will you stop asking these questions? Why are you asking so many questions? Can you just keep quiet? No, he is not thinking like that. So what is Shukadeva Goswami thinking? So that somebody has to say. That's why Suta Goswami jumps into the picture and says, Shukadeva Goswami was very, very pleased with the questions of Parikshit Maharaj inquiries. And he was so eager to answer him. He then spoke Srimad Bhagavatam, which was first spoken by the Supreme Lord to Brahmaji, the first Kalpa. So for all these questions, for some of the questions that now Shukadeva Goswami was asked by Parikshit Maharaj, Shukadeva Goswami is going to quote another conversation. What is that conversation? Earlier in the last chapter, what is the conversation he quoted? Conversation between Brahmaji and Narada Muni. Speaker is Brahma, asking questions are asked by Narada Muni. Now, for this, these questions are asked by Parikshit Maharaj, or some of these questions are asked by Parikshit Maharaj. To answer them, Shukadeva Goswami is going to quote another conversation because he just now Parikshit Maharaj glorified him. You are an authority because you heard in parampara. So whatever he heard in parampara, he is repeating. So some of these questions asked by Parikshit Maharaj is also once asked by Lord Brahma to the Supreme Lord Vishnu. So he is going to quote that conversation as a answer to Parikshit Maharaj, some of the Parikshit Maharaj's questions. So that is why he then spoke Srimad Bhagavatam, because that conversation is where Krishna speaks Bhagavatam to Brahmaji first time. That is called as Chatushloki Bhagavatam. The whole chapter we were supposed to see today. Somehow didn't go there even. We didn't even start the chapter. I'm not going to start the chapter. It's already past 7:45. So we will see the chapter next week actually. So he then spoke Srimad Bhagavatam, which was first spoken by Brahmaji in the first Kalpa, spoken by Supreme Lord to Lord Brahma in the first Kalpa. And Shukadeva Goswami actually gets prepared himself to describe all that king had inquired so far. So in the next chapter, we will begin with the answer to the first question asked by Shukadeva Parikshit Maharaj. And then Shukadeva Goswami will quote the conversation between Lord Brahma and Lord Vishnu. in which the Chaturshloki Bhagavatam is described by Vishnu to Brahma as an answer to some of the questions of Parikshit. So this week what we saw is in the chapter 4 that Parikshit Maharaj asked some questions for which Shukadeva Goswami answered in chapter 5 and 6 and 7 about the creation of the universe and Purusha avatars. So after that, what did Parikshit Maharaj do? Because all these questions were answered. So what did Parikshit Maharaj do after hearing those answers? He asked, "Speak more about Narada. Please speak more about Krishna." And he also gave a big list of questions. Okay, how does the jiva, which is spiritual, gets into this body? Is there a difference between the jiva's body and the Supreme Lord's body? What is the calculation of time? What is the kalpa, vikalpa? What is the dimensions of the universe? Different types of bhakti, different yoga mishra bhakti, sadharana dharma, sarvisosha dharma, apad dharma. In this way, he asked so many questions and finally inspired Shukadeva Goswami, please, I want to hear the answers to all these questions from you because you are the perfect authority. Please speak to me. And don't think I'm hungry or I'm thirsty, I'm tired. No, I'm actually being completely satisfied and nourished by whatever you so far spoke. So please continue to speak more and keep my hunger and thirst away by the nectar of so Shukadeva Goswami being answered the questions of Parikshit Maharaj, specifically by quoting the conversation between Lord Vishnu and Lord Brahma in the next chapter 9. So thank you very much for joining. So sorry I was supposed to take chapter 9, but could not. This chapter took the time. So next week we will do the chapter 9. I don't think chapter 10 will be possible next week. Chapter 9 at least we will complete next. Thank you so much. If you have any questions, you can ask me. If it's time, you want to jump out, yes. Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Dandavad. Prabhu, can I share the screen?
Yeah, please. Do I have to give you some permission or something?
No, nothing.
Okay.
When you just stop screen sharing, I can start screen sharing.
Okay, I'm so sorry.
नहीं वो ऊपर एक option है देखिए you are viewing, yeah, that place you have to just click.
I'm just stopping. Yes. Yeah, I did. Can you share now?